Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Career Mastered Inside Career Success. I'm Dr. Lisa Wicker, your host for today. Each week, as you know, we bring you stories of women who are shaping industries, building legacies, and showing us what leadership looks like in real time. And I have a special guest today. Before I bring her on, I'd like to just share with you a little bit more about Career Mastered for those that may be new with us today as we are talking. Career Mastered is a women's platform that really accelerates and advances women's leadership throughout the marketplace. Over 12 years now, coming up in 2026, we have honored over 600 women, have provided over $60,000 in scholarships to girls, and we continue to move this in the marketplace to ensure that we have connections and that women can be at the forefront of their careers. And how we do that is through a number of avenues. One in particular is this show. Two, we have an annual summit where we bring women together around topics that are current, are in demand, and we're bringing together those women so that they can have the discussions and bring those learnings back to their areas of expertise, whether it's in corporate America or whether it is in entrepreneurship, nonprofit or private. And then we have the quarterly magazine called Career Mastered magazine, and that magazine has been around since 2018. I'm proud to say that we have been successful with its launch. We launched it in 2018 in New York as well as in Charlotte, and now it is a global footprint. We have just finished the fall edition, and that did very well. In fact, it was a complete sellout. And because you're on this show today, you get the first preview of the winter edition, where we have Sunita Lawton, independent board director of True Blue and Sun Run. I think it's Sun. Don't get me wrong, but this powerhouse is dynamite, and she is on our cover as we talk about women on boards and the voices in the boardroom. Sunita will be on the cover, but she also will be featured at our summit, which will be held this May in Charlotte, North Carolina on May the 5th and 6th. And as I talk about the summit, I'm proud to let you know that the nomination process is open. So if you know a deserving woman today that should be recognized for her remarkable leadership and the leadership and action that she is demonstrating, please go over to careermaster.com and nominate her today. Also, emerging leaders are welcome. We, as you know, have opened up the ticket sales for early birds, those people that don't want to wait to 2026 to get their tickets. We have done something that we've never done before. We have lowered the tickets for the first 100 at $299. Now, let me tell you, you do not get a conference ticket at $299. We did that because we are getting back out here, coming together rather than on virtual platforms in real time, and we want you to be there. Our summits sell out. So I ask that you don't wait to the end. I won't be able to have a magic wand to open the door if the tickets sell out. So I'm telling you now, $299 is it. And when those sell out, that will go back up to close to $500. So if this is what you want to do and want to be, you should get your tickets before the holiday, before Christmas. And I'm ecstatic about who our special guest is, which I am not going to announce today, but it will be in the next week. I will tell you the tickets will go out very fast once you all understand who we have coming to this summit. So now, without further ado, I am thrilled to welcome not only a dynamite in the technology arena, but she happens to be my soror. And I want to take the time to introduce her properly. We're talking about a woman who sits at the intersection of technology, innovation, and intellectual property strategy. Now, that's a mouthful in and of itself. All right. So let me not waste any more time and add Kimberly Will from our green room. She's on stage. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hello. How you doing, Dr. Lisa?
I am great. I am so grateful that you took the time out this morning. I know you're a busy lady and you have lots going on in your world of work at General Motors, but let me say that Kimberly Will is the global manager of technology operations and intellectual property at GM, a company that I spent over 20 years at, and she has built a remarkable career navigating technical complexities, corporate influence, and future of mobility. And today we are going to unpack how she leverages relationships, her education, and the opportunity to move into a senior global role. But let me just take a moment to officially give you some of her background. Kimberly is a distinguished technology and intellectual property leader. And in her role, she helps to drive the strategy, protection, and positioning of General Motors' most advanced innovations across the global technology ecosystem. Her work ensures that the company researches patents and technology investments translates into competitive advantage and strategic value. With more than 2 decades in technology operations, Kimberly has built a career, as I mentioned, at the intersection of engineering, business, and enterprise IP strategy. And she excels actually in high complexity environments, leading cross functional teams, translating technical advancement into business outcomes, and partnering with global teams and stakeholders for innovation capability. She's a lifelong learner, and I'm sure her educational journey had a lot to do with where she's landed today. But I will not hold our conversation off any longer. Just know that Kimberly Will is a powerful model of what it looks like to succeed in global technology leadership while opening doors for others. So, welcome.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for that introduction. That was a beautiful introduction. I wonder who that person is that you introduced.
Well, I'm looking right at her, and I'm really excited to begin our conversation because I know that working at General Motors from when did you know that intellectual?
Well, you know what? When did I know the intellectual property was a lane for me? I would have to say it it would go back during the time that I was an ISP in China. So my husband and I had an opportunity to work for General Motors in Shanghai, China for 3 years. And while working there, I focused on producing, or we focused on producing one of the first profitable small cars. The project requires some deep collaboration with our joint venture partners that we have there. And, so General Motors have a couple of joint ventures, or several joint ventures actually there. I had my firsthand knowledge of strategic intellectual property management that enabled a win-win outcome between both companies.
Yes.
The experience opened my eyes to a critical role that IP plays in innovation and competitiveness. And I knew this was the space that I truly could have a real impact from a business perspective as well as a technical perspective.
Wow. Wow. Well, now I'm wondering what gave you the thought process that you would want to do an international global assignment in China. I mean, that takes a lot in and of itself. I mean, how did that all come about?
You know what? I always wanted to be able to broaden my experience and knowledge base. And the opportunity came up. And actually, the opportunity came up where I interviewed for a position. The position was actually supposed to be in North America with some travel to China. And it changed, whereas it was going to be a 18-month assignment actually in China.
Uh-huh.
And there I was actually leading a financial team, right, where
Mhm.
we were going to be looking at the tools and the cost structure of parts that were going into the vehicle. And I got the position. I was elated, and it was a promotional opportunity for me, and I took it.
So how long were you there in China?
I actually ended up being there 3 years.
Okay. Okay.
3 years there. I initially started off as the ISP, and then my husband also worked for General Motors. He's now retired
Uh-huh.
from General Motors, but and then they asked him to stay on for another assignment, and so we were there for a total of 3 years.
3 years. I mean, that's not a short stint, really. Can you recall anything that stands out for you as a learning moment while you were in China that you will always be with you? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind? Was it language? Was it shopping? Was it food? Was it what was it that sticks with
I,
you?
I tell I tell you what, for me, what stood out for me was actually the culture.
Yeah.
What stood out for me, although people always was concerned that, oh, you're living in China. Let's just say this: Shanghai is one of the most beautiful places that one could visit.
Yeah.
Right? It's not what we think of when we think of China, right? As poverty and things of that nature. It's a very innovative place to be, where
Yeah.
lots of technology you see every day.
Uh-huh.
Food, you can have food from all over the world, and then it's a hot spot for jumping from place to place to go visit. And so my husband and I have plenty of opportunities to visit lots of different places.
Yes.
But what stood out to me was the culture, and that is that they are limited in the number of children that they can have.
Mhm.
So they just recently said that they can have 2 children, but the whole dynamic of
Yeah.
family is important to them. And so at a certain age, grandparents retire so that they can take care of their grandchildren.
That's it.
And families stay together in one unit,
Wow.
right?
Right.
And so that they can make sure that each generation prosper and
Wow.
become the very best that they can be.
How beautiful.
And I thought that was a great model.
It's beautiful. I mean, we're so independent here in the US.
Mhm.
Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody has their own home.
Mhm.
I do believe there's some advantages to, making sure the legacy is maintained. But thank you for sharing that. Pamela has joined us as well as Beatrice from I think Beatrice is in Nigeria. I mean, so hey, we're global right now. So
Yes,
thank you for
yes.
joining us. Pamela says hello. And let's talk about what drove you to this technical focus. I mean, you mentioned finance. So let me know, kind of what is your education, and then how did that translate to the work that you're doing today?
Oh, well, my education is that I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and I have a master's degree in engineering business management, and I'm working on my MBA.
Oh yeah.
So right now I'm working on my MBA right now. So
Awesome.
that is my educational background.
Yes, yes, yes. And so how did that translate to your being in the role that you're in now in terms of global manager of technology operations? I mean, you could have actually gone into a number, you could have gone into, the plant operations, right? You could have gone into electrical engineering. Uh,
Mhm,
but you're in technology operations and intellectual property, which has to do with the thoughts that come, I believe, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the
mhm,
thoughts that come through General Motors to design all these great cars and trucks, from patents to, you know, the thought and brains behind how it operates. How did you get there?
But you know what? So I would say in a role like I have today, you have to have a lot of in-depth knowledge, right? And so earlier on in my career, I started off at General Motors as a summer intern, then a co-op, and then I started off, my career in various facets. But I started off originally in the lab, working in the lab, right? And that's where it gave me my strong technical foundation.
Uh-huh.
And then I volunteered to be a supervisor, and I worked on the manufacturing floor. And then that experience taught me leadership and problem solving under pressure.
Yeah.
And then later, I spent many, 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 many years as a design release engineer. And I know you know what those are,
Yeah.
Lisa,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there, you learn about decision impact and how it affects the entire product life cycle. So each of those roles gave me, my comfort zone to build versatility and shape my career path. And as you go into the field that I have, you have to have in-depth knowledge about multiple things,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're looking at IP that will touch engineering, and I deal with engineering IP. And
Yes.
so if I were working for your company, Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
so you yourself is intellectual property.
Yeah.
What you say, what you produce is
Yes.
intellectual property.
Yes.
And then what I do in my role is understand how to monetize that
Exactly.
intellectual property,
I
right?
love it.
And where that intellectual property can be best fitted in
Yeah.
another company, like a JV or any other third party that we may
Uh-huh.
work with.
Uh-huh.
And then on the other hand, too, how to protect what we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that it does not, what's the word? It does not leave the improper hands, and so that we can always have the competitive advantage in the
Exactly.
ventures in which we enter into.
Well,
So, as
it's
an example, when people always ask, what do I do? I always say, when you see Mary Barra, our CEO, on the line, and she says that she has decided to join or partner with a company,
yeah.
it's our team that she worked with to make those types of ventures.
Right, right. You have to protect that
Mhm.
competitive advantage. We
Yes.
could go in a number of lanes right now to talk about this, but I'm inspired by what you just said, referencing women, for example, that own their own business. I want them to hear what you said because I know from having worked at GM and then Chrysler and then other companies that I work with, all of them big companies, they have teams like you to
Mhm.
protect their brands, right? And so I think women or men that are on this call today, please hear what Kimberly is saying is that your brand is an intellectual property and you need to protect your brand.
Mhm.
Don't consider it as just, a business that you're doing. And I have had to legally protect my business, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and get my attorneys to make sure that my intellectual property is protected
Mhm.
because it is investment. It is my
Mhm.
thought process that I put
Mhm.
into it, right? And
Mhm.
then it is how I manage that uh, innovation, which
Mhm.
is what it is, so that it is IP protected, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, as I'm listening to you, I just want those that are here with me, and then those that listen to this after you and I have finished this conversation, is to hear what Kimberly is saying, the importance of protecting your intellectual property as a brand, because you
Mhm.
do have that and it's yours. And so, legally, as you're working with people, as you're out here in the marketplace as a brand, as a company, do the right thing to ensure that you have protected the competitive advantage of your thought process. Is very important.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
So that's just my little 2 cents
Mhm.
because I think I had to learn the hard way, but I have learned, that even you and I talking on the Career Master platform, that's a brand, that's an
Mhm.
intellectual property, right?
It is. It
So
is.
just like the patents that come out of GM, every last one of them are intellectual property. And I could talk on and on about that. But what has surprised you about this industry in this space? Anything in particular?
What has surprised me about this industry in this space? Ooh, Um, you know what? I think it's the sheer complexity of the
Yeah.
automotive industry and
Mm-hmm.
the depths of the intellectual property that's involved. You spoke a little bit about that. And at General Motors, we kind of divide those in two, right? And so we have those where specifically those that work on patents, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all of the inventions
Mm-hmm.
that one make. And then you have me, right? And
Yeah.
the team that I work with in protecting your intellectual property, right?
Yes.
And knowing when you want to share it, how you can share it, and the confines around sharing it.
Right. Right.
And so there is an incredible amount of innovation behind every vehicle that we build, the technology that's in those vehicles, the
Yes.
design, the process. And most people is not aware of all of those things, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's fascinating to realize how much IP underpins the products that we take for granted every day. And
Yep.
so I always say, driving an automobile flying in an airplane, traveling on a train, in a boat.
Yeah.
You can never imagine how many engineers it takes to make that innovation work. It's
Well,
a marvel
I
all in itself.
I started like you as an intern, and I started in the foundry. So, for people that understand automotive or not, it's the probably the most dangerous part of building a car and truck.
Mhm,
Because that's where the iron is, that's where the components are
mhm,
made, that's where the grind is for sure. And they don't even today, I would suspect General Motors not doing a lot of what we did back in the day, but we were pouring iron by hand, not mechanical
mhm,
rotary iron pourers. Before
mhm,
I left that space, we did start the rotary mechanical iron pouring, which was so much safer because I mean I was back in the day when people were unfortunately dying because of
mhm.
the danger of what it is. But I will say, and you're not speaking on behalf of General Motors, we're talking about your career, and I just want to make that clear that from the components of sand and sulfur, to the carbon and all the things that go into cars and trucks, it is absolutely complex. You
It
know,
is.
that ends up on four tires on the road, and driving and luxury. It starts with almost sand, sand. That's where it starts, right? And
Mhm.
so I know the work that you do because I was on the floor. I started like you, in the factories, and ended up accelerating my career based upon relationships. And you're here today because one, you were a career master honoree this past year.
Yes,
So
yes.
congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
leadership in action.
Thank
But
you.
how did relationships help accelerate your career in real ways?
Um, I would say, and as you know this, relationships open up doors. And I couldn't have done it on my own.
Yes.
And this relationships from all manners, right? Mentors gave me guidance and perspective, and sponsors advocated for me in rooms I wasn't in, right?
Yes.
And peers shared knowledge that accelerated my learning. And we can't underestimate how important it is to have peers, right?
Yes.
And the relationship of those people that are around you. And I would say those connections turn challenges into opportunities and help me move faster
Hmm.
in my career. And so relationships matter.
For
They
sure.
really do.
They do.
They matter.
Let's talk a little bit about how you can get derailed because of relationships that aren't working. You and I know very well how that works in corporate America, right? So, what advice do you have for women, particularly? And I know men will listen to this, but um, what advice do you have relative to the fact that in college, through those 4 or 5 years we went to school, they didn't teach us about relationships. That was not on the curriculum. Okay. So the hardest part of our jobs was understanding that uh, phenomenon. What is your opinion about that?
Whew, but you know what? That's twofold, right? So
Yeah.
we could talk all day about that because we got so many different types of relationships that we have. But what I would say is that we got to stay focused on a goal, right? And sometimes we always allow people to move us off our square,
Preach now.
and
Let's watch it.
we have to. And I know that's been one of the biggest learnings for me. And I know my I can't say Sands, but my sorority sister
Yes.
is on the line, and she has always been very true to keeping it, I would say, real,
Mm-hmm.
understanding who you are as a
Mm-hmm.
person
Mm-hmm.
and what your goals and are, and to understand how you're going to actually achieve those goals. There are some people that will not always be for you, right?
Right. Right.
They're gonna smile, and that's why you need to know how to always smile back,
Yes.
understand who you're dealing with,
Yes.
and never allow them to move you off your square.
That's
And
it.
even if you know that they are meaning for you wrong, I always believe you need to keep your closest enemy beside you.
Yes.
Understand their moves,
Yeah.
And whatever you do is try to ensure that you are keeping your best foot forward, you're being the best person that you can, and don't allow them to enter into your space to move you off your square.
Yep. I agree totally. One thing, a couple of things, you said a lot. So thank you for that. I think one of the things that is most important is the smile. People ask me, how did I make it to, executive level from an intern, in
Mhm.
companies like General Motors and so forth. I think it was my understanding of smiling when you didn't want to smile. You
Mm.
just smile your way right through,
Amen.
and say what you need
Amen.
to say under your breath, but you just keep smiling. And it got to the point where it just became natural, It was not.
Hiding those emotions.
Yeah, and people will say, "Well, isn't that, hypocritical?" No. What you're dealing with is the environment you're in.
Mhm.
You have to understand the environment you're in. And if you're going to win, like you say, stay focused. Stay
Mhm.
focused. It's not on the distractors that are trying to get you off your point. So if you're smiling, it is, you might go to the ladies' room and say what you need to say under your breath, after you've had an encounter, but you come right back out smiling. Hey, how you doing? And then it's like, what's wrong with her? And I'm good, happy.
But Dr. Lisa, that's difficult, right? And
It
I
is.
have to admit that that's something that I'm working on, right?
Yeah.
I have a very direct personality, and
Yeah.
so sometimes that smile, right,
Uh-huh.
is
Uh-huh.
not always there, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and your poker face is shown. I've taught
yeah, and your
women.
focus space is shown,
Uh-huh,
but it's
uh-huh.
all about how you regroup, right?
Yep,
And how
yep,
you come back and
yep,
how you present yourself. And I would always say, even in times um, um, of challenge,
yeah,
always be very professional. You
yep,
may not
that's
have a
true.
smile, but the
Yeah.
words that come out of your mouth
Mhm,
and
mhm,
how you present yourself,
mhm.
how you stand before others,
Yes,
all of that matters. Do
yes,
and so that's what I mean by don't get them off of your square. Watch what comes out of your mouth,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. I don't
Watch
know
your
how
your
I
your
did it.
gestures.
I had a mentor who taught me how to release those feelings when they
Oh,
were necessary. But
mhm.
I mean, I had a pretty good run at when I needed to take a lunch break and move away from the building. I would go to shag some balls at the golf course, which was
Oh,
right by the put
mhm,
number one place that I worked.
mhm,
And I would get some frustrations out on shagging some balls for an hour and go back to work and keep smiling because I know that I made it through based upon dispositioning myself
mhm, mhm,
in a way that even if I were upset and frustrated, I'd wait till I get home. I didn't release those things there. Okay.
mhm,
And
mhm,
part of that is the professional demeanor that while they knew, I had some things to say, I say what I have to say, but I was not going to carry that uh, sourness with
mm,
me,
mm,
inside of the
mm,
building. There were other ways to handle it, right? So
mhm,
I often say, relationships, there needs to be a class in college on relationships, okay? There needs to
mhm,
be something taught so that people understand when they come in the door, don't get derailed, don't fall off the track in
mm,
your first assignment, because that's how
mhm.
you're going to fall off is you don't have great relationships. Am I right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
So what advice would you're in a male-dominated, field, and as much as women have succeeded, tell me a little bit about your perspective on environments like that you're in. How do you continue to grow and have influence in those kinds of environments?
I would say credibility.
I love it. Credibility.
Mhm.
Mhm,
We need to focus on credibility first, right? Because that defines who we are. We
mhm,
need to deliver results consistently. We have to show people that we know what we're doing.
mhm.
Because most times, and especially, I would say what I have encountered as being a woman of color,
Yeah.
right? Is that, you know what, I'm not just a pretty face,
Mhm, mhm.
right? And so your credibility matters, and you got to be able to deliver results. At the end of the day, I tell my children this: you want people to remember what do you want people to remember about
Yeah.
you? What
Yeah.
did you bring to the table?
Mhm.
We've
Mhm.
been talking about this already, but build relationship across the organization, right? Not just within your team and not just your girlfriends. And sometimes we get caught up in that. We only want to deal with people that we know.
Yeah.
And we only want to deal with people that are like us, right?
Uh-huh.
We don't want
Uh-huh.
to be deal with nobody that challenges us. Sometimes people challenging you make you grow.
That's true. Those are the
It
very
makes you
ones
grow.
you remember.
It makes you grow. Also, I would say speak up in meetings and share your perspective confidently,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
sometimes we want to maybe talk a little low, or we don't believe that what we say matter, or, but even if what we're thinking is different, sometimes you got to think outside the box, right? And sometimes a different perspective is worth hearing. Also, I would say find allies, male
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
female, and
Mhm.
across all races,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because influence grows through collaboration and not isolation.
I
We
love it.
can't stick around people that look like us, act like us, talk like us. We gotta find allies across every genre.
I love it. I love it. And so how do you keep well, if a woman wants to follow in your footsteps, what should she be doing now? Like right now, what could she be doing to work towards that career in intellectual property?
Um, I would say what she should be doing. One is just working in the career that I am. It's almost like being a subject matter expert,
Mhm.
right? And so you have to have in-depth knowledge in what you're doing. And so what I would say to those women out there is, you know what? Sometimes we like to jump around from career to career to career. And even if you are jumping around from career to career, make sure that you master what you know. And
Mhm.
so that the knowledge that you have is very transferable, and
Mhm.
it can go into another field, and you can use it to leverage, because your ability to think critically
Yeah.
and to think outside the box and to come up with solutions that may not be relevant and that you don't know of now, and where you have to work with a cross-functional team to come up with innovative ideas,
Mhm.
then you need to make sure you're equipping yourself in order to do that. And some of that could be by education. Some of it is informal training. So it could be a genre of things, but never forget who you are, what you're learning, and how to take all of you and everything into the next space.
I love it. Well, we're going to end with that. I think you have given us a lot to think about in terms of, roles in dominant, male dominant fields, as well as a little bit more about intellectual property, not just working in major corporations, but your own brand, which I think is important. And
Mhm.
then what can women be doing now? And then you said if we want to take all of us, we have to start working on who we are today, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us. I know, as I said, you have a lot going on at work, and I just feel so humbly grateful that you could take the time today to just say hello, stop by, and give
Yes.
us a little bit of who you are. And if people want to follow you on LinkedIn, how do they do that? What is it? Kimberly Will.
Yep. It's Kimberly Will. Yep.
Okay, so
Kimberly
we'll
Will
do
on
that.
LinkedIn.
We'll do
Yes.
that, and, for those that want to know more about, careers in, the technical complexities of not only automotive, but, anything that has to do with patents and property, Kimberly is the person. But
Yes.
she's also, helping other young women. Aren't you doing that as well?
I am. Well, yeah, I do. I mentor other women,
Yeah.
intentional about mentoring women, that's in my network, and I share advice and connect with them with opportunities, and I just advocate for their visibility and leadership discussions and meetings and all of those things. And so I make time for informal coaching.
Yeah, because you and I have one, person in common in mentoring, and
Yeah.
that's Micah.
Yes, yes,
Micah
yes, yes, yes.
Slade, yeah, I call her my little girl, but Michael's grown. I've known Michael now. I met her when she was 15, and I'm so proud of the fact that she's in a technical career as well at ITC and doing very well. And I know a lot of that has to do with her mom and you and others like us that have been there for her. So that's an
Yeah.
example of what's happening when you spend time with young women. And I think she
Yes.
majored in civil engineering.
Yes, she did.
And so I hope to see she's going to be, I'm sure, here in May at the national conference. We
Yes.
normally don't have one without her. So thank you so very much. And I'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
Bye bye. Wow, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to all of our guests, uh, especially those that have gotten awards and have been a part of our process of making sure that we get to know women and their stories. I mean, behind every success is a story. And so it really is an opportunity to get to know the person. And so thank you, Kimberly, for being with us today. And thank you, Pamela and Beatrice and others that have joined us today here at Career Mastered. We basically do this every Wednesday so that we can have a chance to get to know the stories, but those stories can also inspire us, motivate us to do maybe things that we didn't think we could do. And so I want to just once again show you the cover of the Winter magazine that will be out on December the 1st, where Sunita Lofton is our cover girl. She's an independent board director. And this magazine publication for winter holiday issue is all about women on boards. And certainly as we extend and accelerate and become who we are, board leadership should be on your radar as well. That's where you get to take everything that you've learned over the years of your career to contribute to ensuring that other companies are successful. And as I mentioned at the entrance of our conversation here today, nominate a deserving woman today. Just simply go over to careermaster.com. Those nominations are open. The process is open until December the 15th. And then early bird tickets at $2.99 until the first 100's out. You can do that as well. So thank you for being here today. We love you. We'll see you next time when we are back here in the studio to talk again about career mastered women doing their thing.